Hello guys and welcome back to Married at First Sight Australia, and today we are going to be talking about the second dinner party. And my goodness, this was the most explosive dinner party that I've seen in a hot minute. I mean, there were some good ones on UK, but I gotta say, and this is obviously my first time watching Australian Married at First Sight. I've only ever seen one other series of Married at First Sight, and that was last year's UK one. Guys, these people are toxic. They are crazy. Like, I genuinely was watching it with my mouth open half the time because I was like, how many of these silly little disputes could have been solved by literally just speaking to each other nicely and just having an open conversation rather than just being nasty to each other, which low-key I do love. I do love the nastiness, but also, are you joking? This is absolutely crazy. So before we get into the episode, I just want to say thank you guys very, very much for the love and the support on the channel. We are on our way to 900. We're currently at 825, which means we are a quarter of the way to our goal. So make sure we're pushing, make sure we are getting there. But you guys are doing a fab job, so I'm sure we'll get there eventually. Yeah, eventually, because I have no faith in you guys to get me there by the end of May. Yeah, that's the challenge, guys. So, if you are enjoying, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Let's get into the video now. So, before we actually get into the dinner party, there's just a couple of things that I wanted to point out and bring up just to sort of lay the groundwork for what's going to be happening in this dinner party, I guess. There are three main sort of blow-ups and arguments that happened, and one of them involved Ben and Ellie, one of them involved Timothy, Tori and Jack, and then the last one involved Tim and Sara, or Sara, because apparently she keeps on correcting people and it's very confusing because someone called her Sara, she corrected it as Sarah, but then someone else called her Sarah and she corrected it as Sara, so I don't actually know what's going on and I'm very confused. So the groundwork is basically Timothy bumped into Tori on a walk, started walking with her, and was basically like, I don't believe that you guys are genuine. And I was like, first of all, Timothy, why are you saying that? Let me get my red flags out. Let me get my red flags out, because we all know that they're not genuine. But, like, we're not saying it because we want Tori to work that one out for herself, because she's like, oh my God, we're totally into each other. But he's going behind her back, talking to the boys and being like, yeah, there's no spark there. There's no sexual spark there. And she doesn't even know that. So I can understand why Timothy's doing what he's doing, because I think he can see that Jack is manipulating her, etc., etc. But also, Timothy, it's not your place. Red flag. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Next up, we have Ellie and Ben. Apparently, like, Ellie's just worried that Ben's going to get attacked by the girls because of what she said at the sort of intimacy workshop. The more time I spend with Ben, the more I'm realising, actually, was the cousin right in the wedding? Like, I fiercely defended Ben in that instance because I was like, he's not, it doesn't seem like he's here for anything more than just to find love. But now, I don't know, his motives and his actions are starting to be questioned by me and a lot of the other people in the experiment. So it'll be very interesting to see how that pans out. The last thing is Sara and Tim, or Sara and Tim, whatever the fuck you want to call her. Now, the thing with watching MAFS, we're told in the media that men are very, very toxic and they're controlling, they're this, they're that. Married at First Sight, especially the last series of the UK version, really highlighted how women are the problem. Sometimes. Not all the time, because men can still be the problem. Jack. But it's beginning to increasingly seem like Sara, whatever, is the problem in this relationship. But she is desperately trying to paint Tim out as the villain. And it's not flying with anyone currently. So yeah, that's the kind of groundwork for this dinner party. Let's actually get into some arguments, shall we? So, before they actually got to the dinner table, The girls wanted to know what the sitch was with Ellie. Ben rocks up in a t-shirt when everyone else was like in shirts and like blazers, and he rocked up in a t-shirt. I thought that was an interesting choice. But like I said, the girls just wanted to make sure that Ellie was okay. I think I'd do the same. It's difficult because like I have a closer connection to girls than I do guys sometimes. But obviously this show kind of forces the guys together, the girls together, and then like couples. So it can be sort of like difficult to blur those lines. But apparently something else happened since the last time we saw them that ended up with them sleeping in separate rooms again. And it's just getting to the point where I'm like, this is becoming a little bit of a pattern. But also, and this is a little bit of a red flag that's waving in my mind, is that all of these things that are happening never seem to be caught on camera. And I can't work out whether that's a red flag for Ellie or a red flag for Ben. Is he doing it purposely off camera because he knows that it would be his word against hers? Or is there some degree of exaggeration from Ellie and she's overreacting and trying to justify it, and there's no footage of it, so there's no one that can deny what she's saying? I would like to believe it's the first one, and the fact that Ellie is not just overreacting, because she genuinely does seem hurt and upset. And like with the whole mimicking thing, I was like, that's not great, but it's not catastrophic. But apparently he was in bed and he was like, yeah, I don't think we're a match. And I was like, why? First of all, why would you say that casually in bed? What is going on here? And then she's just defending Ben and being like, oh, well, he did apologise to me the next day and he said he didn't mean it, etc, etc, etc. And I'm just sitting here like, I don't trust this guy anymore, because this is now the second time that something's happened and Ellie's been genuinely upset. But also, it also seems like he's almost bargaining with her. Like he fucks up, then he like gives her a little breadcrumb, and then he fucks up again and he gives her another little breadcrumb, and it's just keeping her sort of fixated on him at the moment. And it's quite a negative environment to be in. Apparently his response to that whole situation when it was brought up at the dinner table was that he was going to walk out. And I think the experts were quite shocked at that as well, because it kind of meant that he could deflect it all and use it as an excuse of like, oh, I was struggling and I didn't really know what to do, so I was going to walk out. But then Ellie was like defending Ben a lot more than Ben was defending himself. So it just felt really uncomfortable and awkward. And there was a really, really key scene in the car ride there when he was like, right, what are we going to tell them? And she was like, we're yin and yang with this and that. It was almost like he trained her to say stuff in order to defend their relationship. It just feels weird and uncomfortable and not natural, I guess, is the word I would use. I don't know. It just feels really awkward and odd. And then they were questioning how he's like completely changed his mind about having kids. And then he was like, oh, well, time will tell. And everyone was like, hang on a minute. You should know whether you want kids or you don't want kids. You're in this experiment now. You've got to make up your mind. Is this what you want? Yes or no? It's a very simple question. If she said, I want kids, that means that if you stay with this woman, your path is having kids with her. Is that what you want? Yes or no? There's no maybe or time will tell. Don't waste her time. Do you see what I mean by like, I'm starting to think that the cousin was right and that he saw something that we didn't. And obviously because they're all painted as really lovely on their wedding day, we were all on his side. But now the cracks are beginning to show. And the cracks are forming wide crevasses. Is that even a word? I don't know. Enough. Oh, God, Timothy. This man is frustrating me the more and more I watch him. I was so enamored by him at the start because I thought this poor soul has lost his dad, has lost his family. He has nobody. This is a lifeline for him. Now, he's just stirring up trouble when he doesn't need to, and it's starting to get on my wick, and it's starting to piss me off because he is having a go at Tori and Jack's relationship, being like, he's a sexual guy and he hasn't had sex with you yet. What's going on there? And she's like, well, first of all, you guys haven't even got a connection. Like, what's going on there? And she was just firing everything back at him, and he just was struggling to come back with anything. What he needed to have said was, look, Tori, Jack said at the intimacy workshop that he doesn't have a sexual connection with him, and then the burden is on Jack to defend himself there. I don't understand why Timothy just went in with, I don't think you guys have got a connection, because it's just not good enough. Because then the entire table was like, yo, Timothy, you've dated like a range of, like, the youngest person you dated was 23. And I was like, first of all, why is that relevant? First of all. Second of all, what's going on? Because, like, Timothy was just sort of like, well, it doesn't matter. I don't go for, like, a specific age. I go for, like, I've got a connection. And, like, most of my relationships started with me being friends with people first. Which is a red flag in my eyes. You don't mix friends and relationships. That's just me personally. And it was just so upsetting because it was really, really, really embarrassing Lucinda. Lucinda just looked absolutely mortified through this entire discussion, and it was just uncomfortable to watch. Timothy, you need to sort yourself out, mate. I am really, really frustrated with you at the moment. I completely agree with you about Jack and Tori. I do, but you can't just accuse them of not having a relationship when you know that they're going to fiercely defend themselves and then turn it back on you. And you're not even in a stable enough position to be like, well, we've got a connection, when you don't. Timothy. So the last conversation was about Sara and Tim, and Tim was honest to the group about how he feels like Sara has been painting him as needy, as overbearing, as not trying hard enough, etc, etc. And he's like, well, first of all, let me tell the group that, like, you've cancelled on me 3 times, 3 dates that I've, like, prepared or told you to, like, let's keep that time free. You have been busy, you've cancelled, or you're just not up for it. And obviously the rest of the group was like, rah, okay, first of all, that's not on Sara. Cass literally called her out and went, if somebody did that to me, I would be absolutely fuming. So how can you expect him to just take it on the chin like that? And I thought, good on you, Cass, because Sara, whatever her name is, she's someone that is, I'm going to call her Sara just for the sake of this show. She's someone that is very overpowering and dominant in a conversation. Me and her would not get on. Maybe as friends, but, like, not in an argument. We would, yeah. Anyway, but it's just a bit toxic. And I don't think she sees that, like, at all. She's not seeing anything that she's doing wrong. She's not able to admit it. She's not able to see what she's done wrong. And she's not even able to apologise, which is so frustrating. And then she was like, oh, well, I didn't want to go on the dates because when we'd had the dates, we'd been having bad weeks. And I didn't feel like it. And then they were talking backwards and forwards. And he was just getting, like, she was just talking over him. He was trying to get his point across. He was trying to be calm, rational. And then he just snapped and went, yes, I did. And he did shout. He did yell. Okay, I will say he did yell, and I don't think that yelling was out of anger. I think it was out of frustration. He wasn't yelling at her out of any anger or malice. He was shouting because she was constantly talking over him, and she stormed off and made herself look like the victim, which I hate people who make themselves out to be the victim when they're the person in the wrong. That is my biggest problem, and it's so frustrating because it happens all the time on these fucking shows, and I'm just so over it. And it's just starting to really feel like everyone is seeing how manipulative she is, but no one wants to tell her how manipulative she is, because you've got Eden and Tori speaking in their confessionals being like, yeah, actually, I think she was out of order for cancelling 3 dates in a row. That's bad. Like, there's blame on both sides, but, like, that wasn't on what Sara did. Like, it's just not on. So, like, I'm glad that the girls are acknowledging it and calling it out as well. But they need to call her out on it in person, because then when she goes back, when he goes over to her and is like, look, I'm really, really sorry, she starts turning it on him and being like, wow, he's apologised for yelling at her, and she still hasn't even apologised for cancelling 3 times on him. She hasn't even made an effort. And then when he's like getting frustrated again because she keeps talking over him, she keeps blaming him, I cannot. And then she storms out, and the entire table is like, actually, yeah, she needs to get a grip. Yeah. This dinner party was crazy. It's not a dinner party if someone doesn't walk out. We had Natalie in the last one. We had Sara in this one. It just seems to be the way of the show. But I am loath to watch them on the show much longer if Sara does not get called out for her manipulative, vindictive behaviour. I'm pretty sure in the commitment ceremony, which is next, they will do that. And I'm very grateful for that, because fuck her. But yeah, it's starting to get really, really frustrating. I noticed it kind of on the honeymoon, but now it's blatantly obvious. And enough is enough. I've literally had enough of it. There's too many sweet, lovely couples on this for the limelight to be taken away and given to nasty people like her and like Jack. Yes, so that is all I've got to talk about today. It was definitely a very, very exciting episode. I was gripped, I was hooked, I was gagged. It was amazing. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, do all of that YouTube stuff that you guys do so well, and I will see you guys in the next episode, whenever that may be. So until then, keep on ranting, make sure you're subscribing, and I'll see you guys later. Bye now.